I'd like to call this meeting of the RPC to order. Will Debbie please call the roll?
Deb Frank Finan,
Here.
Joan Dykstra,
Here.
Charles Smith,
Here.
Tammy Fruin-Vogus,
Here.
Patrick Brown, Dennis Roberts, Darlene Kreppel, Kyle Patterson,
Here.
Jim Goss,
Here.
Will Kiles, Katina Wilcher,
I'm
and
here.
Anna Ogween,
Here.
and Diane Marlin.
We have a quorum.
Thank you.
Before we do the approval of the agenda, I do have a request from Delitzo to change the order and to put item 10 before item 9. So item 10 is the CEO management report, and he would like that to go before the presentation of the RPC annual report. Could I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Second, Dykstra.
Is that Katrina?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All those in favor? Oh, let's see, we'll need a roll call vote, please.
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruin-Vogus, Patrick Brown, Dennis Roberts, Darlene Kleppel, Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles, Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
Anna Ogween,
Yes.
and Diane Marlin.
Yes, that
Thank
motion passes. Next item is audience participation. Does anyone want to address the Regional Planning Commission? And I'm going to need, can I see the hands if they're up? Yeah. Do we have anyone who wishes to address the RPC? No? Okay. All right. We'll move on to minutes, approval for the draft meeting minutes of February 26th, 2021, and then the special meeting of March 12th, 2021. Could I get a motion for approval?
So moved, Jim Goss.
Is there a second?
Darlene.
Moved by Jim Goss, seconded by Darlene Kleppel. Any discussion? Okay, would you please call the roll, Deb?
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruin-Vogus,
Yes.
Patrick Brown, Dennis Roberts, Darlene Kleppel, Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles, Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
Anna Ogween,
Yes.
and Diane Marlin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, that motion passes. Next item is consolidated financial reports from Betty.
Good morning. So the fund balance as of the end of February is just over $10.3 million. We have receivables slightly over 1.5 million. And so the fund balance remains healthy.
Okay, any questions for Betty? Nope. Okay, could we have a motion for approval?
So moved, Dykstra.
Tammy.
Moved by Joan, seconded by Tammy. Any discussion? Okay, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruin-Vogus, Patrick Brown, Dennis Roberts, Darlene Kleppel, Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Jim Goss, Bill Kyles, Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
Oldwing,
Yes.
and Diane Marlin.
Yes,
Thank you.
that motion passes. Next item is the list of bills. Betty?
Sure. So the list of bills is fairly significant. This is primarily due to the recent receipt of 6.2 million in federal funding for an emergency rental assistance program. The activity has been robust in this program. And so primarily you will see lots of invoices for rent and utilities on behalf of landlords and rental clients. There's nothing unusual to report.
Any questions on this? Okay, could we have a motion to accept and place on file the list of bills for February 2021?
I'll make that motion. Katina Wilcher.
Second by Chuck Smith.
Moved by Katina, seconded by Chuck Smith. Any discussion? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Bogus, Patrick Brown, Dennis Roberts, Darlene Kleppel.
Yes, and can you hear me when I'm talking? Someone said you can't hear me.
Now I can hear you, yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kyles, Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
Anna Oldwing,
Yes.
and Diane Marlin.
Yes,
Thank you.
that motion passes. Next item is an action item. It's approval of the proposed membership fees for fiscal year 22, starting July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Rita?
Good morning, everyone. You have on the packet basically the same memorandum that I presented at the last RPC board meeting. The regular board meeting, as I expressed at that time, we are not asking for any increases on the fees, and we are just asking for approval at this time of the RPC membership fees. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Any questions for Rita? Okay. Could we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Moved by Deb Finan,
Second, Dykstra.
seconded by Joan Dykstra. Any further discussion? Okay, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Bogus,
Yes.
Patrick Brown, Dennis Roberts, Darlene Kleppel,
Yes.
Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kyles, Katina Wilcher,
Yes.
Anna Oldwing,
Yes.
and Diane Marlin.
Yes,
Thank you.
that motion passes. Next item is approval of the cost of living adjustment, the COLA, which is a funding increase for Head Start, Early Head Start, and Early Head Start expansion grants. Is Brandy here today?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
In your packet, I included the narratives for the 1.22% COLA or cost of living adjustment for Head Start, Early Head Start, and Early Head Start expansion. The Office of Head Start requested the applications be submitted by April 15th. In total, the program is eligible to request $91,912. The program plans to use these funds to increase staff wages and pay scale rates, rent for facilities, and building and maintenance. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and lack of resources impacted by the pandemic, our program will request a waiver for the non-federal match. I'm requesting your support to approve the cost of living adjustment funding increase and the non-federal match waiver for the Head Start, Early Head Start, and Early Head Start expansion grants. I'm open to questions.
Any questions for Brandy? Okay, could I have a motion for approval?
So moved, Wiltshire.
Is there a second?
Clapple.
I'm sorry, who was that?
That's Clapple.
Okay, moved by Katina, seconded by Darlene. Any further discussion? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Vogus,
Yes.
Patrick Brown, Dennis Roberts, Darlene Kleppel,
Yes.
Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles, Katina Wiltshire,
Yes.
Anna Olwing,
Yes.
and Diane Marlin.
Yes,
Thank you.
thanks. That motion passes. Next item is the Head Start Management Report, including financials and service area reports. Randy.
In your packet, I provided you with the Early Childhood Division Management Report, which highlighted the services for January 2021. The management report is also reviewed and approved by the Policy Council. In January, the Early Childhood Division reported serving 471 children and pregnant women with an overall cumulative enrollment of 506 children and pregnant women since September 2020. The Family Support Team continued recruiting eligible families to pursue the funded enrollment of 666 children and pregnant women and identified additional efforts to reach families. Many parents indicated they were not ready to return their children to the classrooms until more people were vaccinated and the number of COVID cases decreased in our county. In order to meet their needs, the program continued in-person and virtual learning and distributed 186 food boxes with formula and diapers based on need. The management team prepared a grant application for the Champaign County Mental Health Board in hopes of securing funding to continue offering social emotional services to enrolled children and families. This funding would support 3 full-time social skills and prevention coaches and a mental health consultant, as well as program operational costs. The total funding proposal was for $326,367. Notice of award should be announced in late spring. In addition, the manager shared several events and services that occurred in January, such as creating a panel of community leaders and educators to facilitate discussion around the COVID-19 vaccines, supporting families in obtaining housing, completing safety drills, connecting children and book mentors through Zoom, providing hearing and vision screenings to the children, and providing staff training. In closing, I would like to thank the board for your support and answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Brandy? Okay, could I have a motion for approval of the report as presented?
Darlene.
Is there a second?
Second, Tammy.
Moved by Darlene, seconded by Tammy. Any further discussion? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Deb Frank Finan,
Yes.
Joan Dykstra,
Yes.
Charles Smith,
Yes.
Tammy Fruling Vogus,
Yes.
Patrick Brown, Dennis Roberts, Darlene Kleppel, Kyle Patterson,
Yes.
Jim Goss,
Yes.
Will Kiles, Katina Wiltshire,
Yes.
Anna Olwing,
Yes.
and Diane Marlin.
Yes,
Thank you.
that motion passes. Next item is the CEO management report. Delitzo.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, Commissioners. The first item I want to just for information purposes before we get into the meat of our presentation this morning is that earlier this month we had Governor Pritzker came to Champaign to sign into law the Education and Workforce Equity Act, which was one of the initiatives that had been championed by the Illinois Legislative Black Caucus. We actually had been approached to host the governor at one of our Head Start days, but due to logistical issues, the event was held at Parkland College. And so I was privileged to have been asked to be one of the speakers. And so that event had the governor, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, Senate Majority Leader Kimberly Lightford, Representative Carol Emmons, and Chancellor Jones from the University of Illinois. It gave us an opportunity to highlight some of the things that we're doing with our Head Start and early education program here in Champaign County. But moving on to the rest of my presentation, I want to begin by thanking the commissioners for your unwavering and continued support as we're dealing with this stop payment issue that has affected us as a result of this 2019 audit delinquency. But I also want to thank the county board, especially for the action that they undertook last week to allow a mechanism to provide some cash flow stopgap mechanism to the Regional Planning Commission as we deal in the next 3 months or so as we await the completion of the FY 2019 audit. With that said, there is some information that we felt was important for us to share with the commissioners this morning, given your fiduciary responsibility to the Regional Planning Commission. As we have been dealing with this, and I want to let you know that we have been working pretty much 24/7 to mitigate any serious impact on the organization, as we have shared with you in the previous meeting that we have a lot of projects and programs that are underway, and we want to make sure that those continue to occur in our community. With that said, one of the information that had been shared with us by the county auditor's office through their communication with the compliance person within the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity was that there is sort of an allowance or a loophole within this whole process that certain programs that fit the criteria of ensuring public health and safety, that those grants can continue to draw funds from the state. And so immediately upon learning of that, we communicated directly with all of our state agencies that we have contracts with. That communication came directly from me. In some cases, it went directly to the director of the state agency. So I'll highlight the state agencies, and then I'll will give you the status update in terms of our request for those state agencies to override the no payment status so that we can continue to draw down funds. So that's the Illinois Department of Transportation, the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, the Department of Human Services, the Department of the Illinois State Board of Education, and the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services. So going back to IDOT, which is where most of our funding comes from to do our planning around transportation. Unfortunately, the grants that we receive from IDOT do not fit that criteria of public health and safety. We have received communication from the various divisions within IDOT that we work with, that they are unable to override our request on the stop payment order. However, it was shared with us as well as to our Director of Planning and Community Development that IDOT will still process new agreements. However, those agreements will not be fully executed until the audit issue is resolved with our cognizant agency, which is the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. In terms of the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, we have about 3 or 4 grants, major grants that are funded through that department. 2 grants that did fit that criteria of public health and safety. where the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, also known as LIHEAP, as well as the Community Services Block Grant, which we have a number of programs that are funded out of those funds. So those funds have been exempted. And as a result, I know we were at least able to have some of our LIHEAP requests for drawdowns processed by the state. The programs that have been denied, weatherization, which is a program where we provide energy efficiency to low-income households, that was denied. For some reason, the Office of Accountability within DCEO was not able to determine that this program fits the criteria for that exemption. The other major program is our Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Funds. And that program alone, I think, is about $3.2 million. That was denied. I had direct communication with the deputy director within DCEO that oversees the program, and he indicated to us that they're not able to provide that exemption for our WIOA funding. In terms of, and with DHS, the Illinois Department of Human Services, we have several programs. There are some programs that the department is either looking into providing the override so that we are able to draw down funds. And then there are some programs where that exemption or override has been granted for us to be able to do the same. The Illinois State Board of Education, which is funding where some of our early childhood funding comes from, besides Head Start, which is the federal funding. They have granted us the override, and I believe that this override has been granted through June 30th of this year. In terms of the Illinois Department of Family Services, we also have about 2 or 3 grants that we receive from that department. We haven't received any response. We have made at least 2 attempts to communicate with all of our state agencies that we work with. And for those where we believe that the exemption should be granted, we are going to try to appeal and hopefully have that appeal granted. So those are basically the communications we've done. I will be meeting with Betty and our fiscal staff later on this morning after this meeting to determine exactly how much of the funding that has been granted this exemption will continue to flow to the RPC, and then for those grants that the exemption has been denied, how much of that. And then I think we'll be meeting weekly with the county executive, the county auditor, as well as the, I don't remember what Tammy Ogden's title is, but we'll be meeting on a weekly basis to review what RPC's needs are. And so again, don't have the total number right now to tell you how much will flow to the RPC, but wanted to share with you that indeed we have been in constant communication with our funding sources to figure out a way to mitigate this impact on the RPC. I'll be open to take any questions, Mayor.
Sure. Any questions for Delitzo? I had one. Do you have an estimate or on the impact on Head Start yet, or in terms of the percentage of programs or fundings that would be impacted?
So for now, and Betty, correct me if I'm wrong, but for now, I think with our state funding, those funds will continue to, we'll be able to draw down those funds through the end of June. In terms of our federal funding, at this point, the federal government has not issued a stop payment on our funding.
They have not.
They have not at this point, no.
Excellent. Any other questions for Delitzo? Okay.
And then to move on, if there are no questions, there is a second part of this presentation that Betty is going to do Again, I think in my remarks to the county board last week, and I may have said this in our special meeting, that while our emphasis has indeed been on the cash flow issue, which is indeed critical to our ongoing operations as an organization, the other critical piece to this are the grants that we are either in process of applying or need to apply, so that when the new state fiscal year begins July 1st, that we have those grants in place. So Betty will be able to share with you where we are on those efforts. Betty, thank you.
Sure, thank you. So as you might expect, the staff is very busy putting together competitive and non-competitive applications to a number of state agencies. This is typical in the spring because most of these applications are due in April. This gives the state agencies time to review and process our application and determine whether or not we would be awarded by July 1. So with the Illinois Department of Transportation, and we have formula funding for QOTS, which is federal pass-through from Federal Highway and Federal Transit Administration, C-carts, and then various other HSTP, the Regional Environmental Framework, and that Systemic Safety Evaluation Tool. Many of those grants are either already submitted or they're under current development by our planning and community development staff. So those total just slightly under $2.2 million. For the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, we just submitted 2 business stabilization grants in the amount of $50,000. We are awaiting a response from DCO. Our CSBG block grant, $682,942, LIHEAP 3.8, weatherization just over $1 million. And then our workforce formula grant, rapid response and trade adjustment, just over $3 million. So a total of $8.6 million that are either underdeveloped and ready for submission in the next several months. Of note, we were advised a couple months ago about new initiatives that we were encouraged to apply for under the DCO's Employment and Training Division. One was a Youth Career Pathways Program. We had begun, Justin and his team had begun work on developing that grant application. This is a competitive application. We were really positioned, I think, for award. This was $500,000. We were advised by the director of that division that we were ineligible to apply due to the stop payment status and our non-compliance. So that's an immediate loss of $500,000. This was a youth career pathways through the high schools and was a brand new initiative. The second one was a sector specialist and outreach plan. This was addressing the 4 sectors that our workforce team is working on: manufacturing, IT, logistics, and healthcare, to prepare our workforce. That was an application, again, a competitive for $100,000. We were deemed ineligible to apply, so we've stopped work on both of these. And then finally, there were additional allocations for dislocated workers and the COVID response. That was $150,000. Again, we were deemed ineligible. So this is a total immediate loss of $750,000. I don't know if these opportunities will come up again, but this is an immediate a loss of new programming for our Workforce Development Division. The Illinois Department of Human Services, we have a number of grants under development for homeless prevention, emergency solutions. Of course, our Child Care Assistance Program, which is a fee-for-service that allows our families up to 10 hours of programming, supplements our Head Start program. Child Care Restoration Grants, which is through the governor's office. Those are awarded monthly. A SNAP to Success program in workforce, which we have a collaboration with Carle Clinic for healthcare workers. And then our independent service and support, which is $2.8 million. That is for developmental disabilities. So we've got grants under development or ready to be processed of just over $4.7 million there. With DCFS, there's $113,000. That's for our housing advocacy programs, as well as child care assistance, which is reimbursement that we receive for serving foster children. And finally, ISBE, which is the preschool for all and the preschool for all expansion. That is slightly over 1.2 million. Those are all under development for submission in April and a startup on July 1st. And then the Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board for police and correctional officer training of 321. So we have 17.9, almost $18 million of grants that are either under development or have already been submitted that are awaiting processing in the next 3 months by the state. We're hopeful that the audit issue can be resolved and expedited so that the state has time to absolutely execute these awards in time for July 1st.
Any questions for Betty?
Yeah.
No.
So Betty, the last, the Human Services, Family Services, Board of Education, those are all absolutely brand new opportunities. Is that correct?
So the ones that are brand new are the workforce development ones, the youth career pathways, the sector specialist and outreach, and then those dislocated worker allocations. Those were brand new initiatives that we cannot apply for. They will not accept our application.
But the ones, the 4 categories at the bottom, those you've done before.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay. Do we need is this the, I guess we don't need a motion. Is this part of number 9 or is this still number 10?
That was number 10. So number 9 will be next. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if there are no questions on that, is number 10, are you finished with number 10?
Yes, we're finished with number 10. Thank you.
We'll move on to the RPC annual report then.
Thank you, Mayor. I trust that commissioners have received a copy of our 2020 annual report. And so what I'll do is just sort of provide a brief, thank you, brief overview and highlight of what this report contains. So as we all know, 2020 was certainly a very challenging year, and this report provides the Champaign County Regional Planning Commissioners and all of our stakeholders a snapshot of how pivotal this organization has been as a responder or provider through various services on the front lines of the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. And like most organizations, the RPC had to be nimble in response to the onset of the pandemic by reorganizing its mode of operations to continue to be the lifeline to the many residents it serves in its region. And as an organization, we not only quickly realized that our services would be in higher demand by many of our residents who have not accessed our services before, but also to those whom we have served in the past. We also knew that other existing projects and services had to continue despite the pandemic. So if we move on to the next slide, one of the things we try to capture in this report is not just to provide you with statistics and numbers and graphs and pie charts that illustrates all of the results and outcomes that we've been able to accomplish through the multitude of work that we do on behalf of this community, but we also wanted to give you a face to the people that we're impacting in our community, and being able to provide you with some client testimonies and stories on how the RPC has been able to impact someone's life. And so throughout the report, you will see stories and testimonials from clients and businesses that we have worked with. Next slide. So beginning with our community services, and we have a lot of programs in this division that have either been new funding that is directly providing services related to COVID-19 relief, or existing programs that we have continued to serve. And one of the things I want to highlight, obviously I won't be able to touch on every program that we do because we'll be here all morning, but one of the programs I want to highlight from the community services is our low-income home energy assistance program. The reason I want to do that is when we went into the stay-at-home order, I think it was in March, many of our programs, we were trying to operate virtually. We put in place some online opportunities for us to be able to process applications and reach clients. And that was the case with other agencies across the state. But one of the things we did with our LAHI program is in July, we moved to in-person applications, and we did that in the gym here at the Brookings building. And as a result of that, and as a result of the commitment of our LAHI team and staff, by being able to engage with the public in person at the Brookings gym, and then later on we moved our operations to our pod here at the RPC. We are one of the agencies in the state. There's 35 agencies that provide LAHI. We're one of the 35 that has been leading the state of Illinois in processing applications, and the state has used us as a model for other agencies to learn from. And we've done this in a very safe environment for both our staff as well as for the public as they've been coming into the building to meet with our staff. You'll be able to see some of the numbers that we've been able to garner from those efforts. Next slide. The other program that I want to highlight is our other division is our early childhood education division. And one of the things that, same thing, March went stay-at-home order, but our staff within this program, our Head Start program, did not just sit at home. They were figuring out different ways of engaging with our families and our children, providing online learning support, providing lessons. We also did a lot of effort in providing, delivering food to our children and families, and as well as providing educational materials. And so we were able to resume in-person operations, and we spent a lot of time planning and thinking through how can we do this in a safe environment for our teachers as well as for our children. And I think we resumed services right after Labor Day and have been phasing in, opening up our facilities so that for those families that are not able to engage with our teaching staff in the Head Start program virtually, they have the opportunity to have their children receive those educational benefits in person. Move on to the next slide. In terms of our planning and community development division, again, a lot of projects that we were able to continue to operate even though we were operating virtually. But one of the programs that I want to highlight from planning and community development would be our Census Outreach effort. And we were doing that in person. We had staff that were stationed here at Brookings. We had staff going to various communities. I know staff went to Rantoul and in our other communities to work with community leaders and provide outreach so that we could have maximum participation of our residents with the census effort. And so that's just one of the things I want to highlight, but there are a lot of other projects that have been ongoing. One of which was working with our businesses. Some of you were part of the Champaign County First efforts, and we had the lady from the village of Royal that had, she traveled with us to Washington, D.C., as well as to Springfield, looking for funding for her community because of their downtown area not having a functioning sewer system, and that was not allowing for businesses to establish themselves in their downtown area. And we were able to provide a loan to that community, and they were able to get other funding. And as a result, I think this is a pretty innovative approach that we are hopeful will be able to generate a lot of businesses for their downtown area. But there are a number of other things that we were also able to do for businesses, such as applying for grants on behalf of businesses, especially during the COVID pandemic, so that they could continue to operate the businesses. So there's a lot of work that we've also done through our planning and community development that you'll be able to see throughout the annual report. And then next slide. So the next slide deals with our newest division here, the RPC, which is the Workforce Development Division. Previously, this was part of our Community Services Division. And we hired our first director, Justin Arnold, who's has been here now. It'll be what, about a year this June, I think, June or July. And we're doing a lot in terms, besides our ongoing program operations, strategically looking at how our workforce program can better position itself with businesses and the communities, the 5 communities that we serve, by focusing on areas like, well, you went to go back to the previous slide, focusing on areas like sector engagement, talent pipeline management, career pathways, apprenticeships, workforce research, performance, and increase in public awareness about what we do with our workforce program. Next slide. And so this also highlights some of the efforts that we've done with some of the businesses. In this particular, I think, example is dealing with an incumbent worker training program. So again, this annual report, and for those of us that work here at RPC, and I can only say this for myself, it's quite amazing to see what our staff have done in this last year, especially during a very difficult and trying time in our history, to be able to still impact the community in the way that they have done. And I hope that the annual report will continue to explain to the community what it is that the Regional Planning Commission does on behalf of the community. So thank you for the opportunity to present to you the 2020 RPC annual report.
Any comments or questions on the report? Thank you. It's actually overwhelming to see all that you're doing at RPC and the critical role that RPC plays in our county. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Okay. We move on to old business. Is there any old business? I don't see any listed. I don't see any new business listed. So I guess that means we're ready for adjournment. And please remind me, do we need a motion to adjourn or we just do it?
You can just adjourn, Mayor.
Okay.
Just declare yourself with no further business, declare
Okay.
adjourned.
Okay, I will do that. But before I do, I also want to echo the thanks to staff for your advocacy for your organization, plus the county board members who really stepped up and had bipartisan support for keeping RPC going and recognizing the critical nature of this organization for our county. So thank you to all who had a role in that as well. And with no further business before us, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.